Yes, recording in progress. Well, I just stopped at elaborating on a few theories which are relevant from the business perspective, the corporate perspective. Now I'll take up a few cases. As much there are many of them, but I would like to touch upon few of them which are more relevant and more applicable to the theories discussed. Again, depending upon the time that I have, I'll just decide as to how many cases that I can discuss. And let's go to even the other part, the legal architecture part also I would like to touch upon towards the end anyway. And if the time permits, we'll have a detailed discussion. Otherwise, even at least the broader, the skeleton part also I would like to give you. Now, let me start the presentation again. With a share screen. Okay. Share. Kanasta idella? It's visible.
Yes, sir.
Visible, sir. Visible.
Okay, fine. I'll start. Say in the context of this, I told you one particular slide where I talked about if a company resorts to or a manager resorts to dysfunctional behavior, self-serving behavior, or a lemonous attitude, or suffering from moral hazard, how does he behave and what are the consequences? Let us see a few of the real-time cases in corporate history and see the connections between these theories and the practice. Now, Infosys, and I've taken first Infosys. Infosys is being powered by intellect and driven by values. Where is the lemonous attitude here? Could be a question in your minds, but let me tell you, the best of the companies also will have a few exceptions. See, it's an exceptional company, no doubt, but as a rule, it is doing well. But all the rules will have exceptions, as you people tell, economics people will tell. In fact, exceptions make the rules. I heard one senior professor in economics telling me, because of exception, there are rules. I don't know what drives what. But anyway, because it is social sciences and any theory will become incomplete unless you have that buffer. That buffer is called as your exceptions. Now, Infosys is all over the globe, really doing an excellent job. But what happened in 2000, you can just see the shareholding pattern, ownership pattern. Now this is something called only 12% of the shares are held by the promoters. This is a classical example of a diffuse ownership structure. See, it's a very credible signal to the market, I'll tell you, very credible signal to the market. Infosys need not have to tell anything. If you look at this slide, you will understand how is the shareholding pattern. See, where the institutional investors are around non-promoter, non-institutions and institutions. So that means larger part is outside and only a few part, 12.7% is with the owners. This shows that this company's shares have got a wider float. It has got larger investing interest, so that people would like to buy and sell the shares. There is a trading interest in the shares of this company. A smaller portion is held by the owners. It is in the public domain. Most of the shares are in the public domain. There is one ideal capital market characteristic that you should know. You'll be knowing about it anyway, called as atomistic competition. Atomistic competition means no investor is big enough to influence the market. All the investors are one and the same. They are in the same level playing field. Nobody is big, nobody is small. Everybody, there's no discrimination. Just because he's a promoter, he is not superior. No. This folding pattern will tell you that. But what happened? What went wrong? Say in 2014, first time, say all these original 7 engineers who promoted it and made it a very, very big impact company, they thought that the revenues were going down. They thought maybe All of us are promoters. We have become the CEO. So it is only the insider story. Let us bring in an outsider so that he will look at the business from a different perspective altogether. With that intention, they brought Vishal Sikka, a complete outsider, nowhere connected to the promoters. He is the first non-Infosian to take over as CEO, and his compensation was 45.8 million. That was the compensation. This is agency cost. I'm talking about agency cost now. This is like, say, how many, all these people, who are at the top will get, huge compensation. And it is being paid for their brains. It's good. It is being paid for their Saraswati. Say, it is because the Saraswati, makes people to, give Lakshmi. That's all. And they create value. They're worth it. You pay so much of money, but they're worth it because they drive value to the shareholders in many times more than what they actually receive. Now this is happening in all the good companies. So he was given 48, 45. Now what he did was, see, Infosys is traditionally a vertical kind of a business operation company. Means they are into software services and they are masters of that. They would like to, expand their businesses vertically. Now, when I say vertical, it means related to software development only, giving software solutions, developing different software solutions for different businesses. So they are into that. That is their domain as such. Now, what this fellow did was, he went for an acquisition model of business, building empire model of business. Means you are going for an horizontal growth, not vertical growth, horizontal growth. He started acquiring businesses, and obviously, as you know, now you have a business of 10 crores, you acquire another business for another 5 crores, you acquire another business for another 5 crores. No, size will increase. What, see, it is horizontal. Size will increase, but what is the value? Value does not increase. So he went for that horizontal empire building and acquisition model of business, which is contrary to the original business model of these 7 engineers who promoted this company. And he kind of tied his salary to the turnover, to the sales, or the size of the firm, the market capitalization. So obviously, when you add businesses, when you acquire businesses, business will be bigger. 250 crore business, immediately next day you acquire another 100 crore business, then it will become 350 crore business. The day after tomorrow you acquire another 100 crore business, it will become 450 crore business. In a matter of few days, business became wider, bigger. And he said, as the CEO salary should be a percentage on this value, as a percentage. So I was getting only for 45.8 million, and because of the acquisitions, you can just see within 2 years, his salary became 487.6 million, a 964% increase. Now this is again one self-serving behavior that he indulged, Vishal Sikka, and it made all the other people's eyes go red, because as you know, Narayan Murthy is from a very humble. His father was a high school teacher, and he has strong ethical compass, value-based driven company, and he earned his business through sheer hard work. All that has been done, and it was given to Vishal Sikka. You will just take it over on a platter. So they become really upset by, and there was one more CFO who actually exited from the company, and he was paid 17.4 crores. So this was never ever there in the minds of Narayan Murthy and his friends. They were very humble and simple kind of people. And what to do now? They made, they put the pressure and saw that he quits. In 2017, he quits. Within only 2.5 years, he quits. Then one more fellow came, the second person, Salil Parekh. He took over. See, this was the second experiment. In between, there was a caretaker. Nandan Nilekani was the caretaker. before Vishal Sikka and after Vishal Sikka and before Salil Parekh. And then they said, maybe in the first experiment, we got bad results. Let us try it again. So the second non-Infoscian was Salil Parekh. The moment he took over, again in 2019, 1 year down the line, again there was a whistleblower complaint against Salil Parekh, saying that he is instigating employees to inflate profits, misrepresenting the deals, and also he is abusing travel privileges. When he is given a chartered flight to travel, he is also taking his children and family along, which is not a business trip. It's a business trip. They should not do that. So there was a whistleblowing complaint. Then all these 7 promoters got the headache. See, the second time also this is happening. There is a complaint. Then what to do? They appointed an agency to investigate into the matter. On that day, when it was made public, you can just see 16% of the shares of Infosys was down. The moment they came to know that there was a complaint against Salil Parekh. And in India, India is a beautiful country, a lot of diversity. And rumors and half truths, they spread like wildfire here. One of the articles I remember saying that all this is being orchestrated by the 7 engineers, 7 original promoters only. Only for lip service, they want an outsider. Whenever an outsider comes, they only create a problem. You understand? This was one of the articles. And they want only a particular community to be there in CEO. They don't want it to give it to, because in India, even caste and religion is something which is, they will bring it from anywhere and put it to anywhere. They said both of them did not belong to the community that the original engineers belonged to, and therefore they are making all this. But fortunately, Salil Parekh's allegation was proved wrong, and even today he is the CEO. So now, what I mean to say is, whenever there is an allegation, sometimes it may be true, sometimes it may not be true, but it's a very clear indication that Vishal Sikka misused his capacity as a CEO, and he awarded himself more compensation. It can happen in good companies like this. And then I'll go to another example. Enron, and I'll just give a brief of this, very briefly, going through the agency and information asymmetry flow. See, Enron was the 7th largest US company. And it was heavily into energy, natural gas. It was a buyer and seller of natural gas and electricity. And let me tell you, Kenneth Lay, who was the MD, the CEO of that company, was an advisor to Bush administration, the president of America. So such was the kind of power that these people had, even with and one thing you can see that all these people who eventually turn out to be lemons, before they turn out they will have strong connections with the politics. I don't know what is the kind of connection that is there from corporates to politicians. They always have that nexus. Then what happened here? Say it was the most innovative company for 6 years. Suddenly, one fine day, it went bankrupt. All of a sudden, like a pack of cards, it just fell down. It was a tremendous impact. 20,000 people lost their job. And at the same time, just see, investors lost $60 billion. As I said, 1 billion is equal to 100 crores. And $1 is equal to 80 rupees. You just imagine the magnitude of the loss that has happened to the public money. And whenever this happens, as you can see that there is a statutory auditor. What is the auditor doing? Auditor is also a part of the board, packed board. We talked about in agency theory, it says no, packed board, packing the board. You are packing the board with only lemons. All are same people. Then what happens? Everybody is a beneficiary. Now, what went wrong? Now, this is the crux. What went wrong was, Enron was typically doing in energy, If they are doing it in only energy, they're doing their electricity, natural gas. they would have been real, even today, they would have been a most reputed company, one of the most reputed companies. But the board of directors were greedy. They saw at that point in time, internet was introduced. See, that was the introduction of the internet era in America. And those companies which are providing internet services, those companies' shares were really booming. So they thought, say, anyway, I have lots of profits now in energy trading. For a short-term basis, say for 6 months or 1 year, let us siphon off this money and put it to the shares. They know that it is going north. And they did not do only with the revenue that was generated in the original company, but also they took loan. They took loan from the institutions, saying that they are expanding their energy businesses, but they were not doing that. They were putting simply into the shares in order to make fast money. Say they become greedy about making fast money. But unfortunately, they entered the market at the peak of the boom, taking a heavy debt. But there was a dot-com crash. Suddenly, everybody started putting their money on the internet company shares. Suddenly, there was a crash. When it crashed down, all the money that was invested there completely evaporated. Completely evaporated. Now, what do you say though? What do you say for this? Now, these are the people who are involved in this. This is the syndicate that I'm talking about. This is the lemon brigade, I would say, that I'm talking about. These are the people, except the last one. She's the one who, the whistleblower who made, thought that, no, what they did was, there was a huge loss. Then what they did, they tried to manipulate the earnings through accounting. They said loss, there was a loss. They did not show it as a loss in the balance sheet. They show it as a special purpose vehicle, investment in special purpose vehicle. Anybody knowing accounting here will be knowing loss as well as asset will be shown on the asset side of the balance sheet. That is the beauty of accounting. In accounting, if you write 10,000, you add 1 0, it will become 1 lakh. If you add another 0, it will become 10 lakhs. So the temptation to act unethically is the highest in accounting and easiest in accounting. Only thing is that your statutory auditor and you, the board of directors, should collide. It happened. But how long you can extend? How long you can extend? Market collapses, as information asymmetry, Karloff says, market collapses. People will identify the lemon. Sooner or later, good will prevail over the evil. Ethics, morals, dharma. Dharma will rule over adharma. Right? So therefore, they were caught. They could do it. They extended it. Say the company was in ICU. The oxygen was given by accounting. But why did it come to ICU? Because of violation of agency theory. Information asymmetry. Nobody knew. Shareholders did not know that these people are siphoning off the funds from the main business and then putting it to the shares of some company to make money for themselves. Nobody knew. Information asymmetry. So now you should also know that the trigger point was violation of agency conflict and information asymmetry. The end point was accounting. When even that could not be done, then finally they said hands up. Then bankrupt. So therefore, till then everybody was saying it was an accounting scandal, it was an accounting scandal. But accounting came very late. Before that, these were the self-serving decisions that they took, because of which all the revenues dried up. And in order to just extend the period, the period of, as I said, they've put in an artificial oxygen. The artificial oxygen was given by accounting. Original, problem was created by their self-serving behavior, moral hazard, lemon, everything, information asymmetry, everything. So that is how I link these theories here. And then Indra and Satyam. Satyam is India's Enron, as you know. India's Enron. It is similar, exactly similar. Asatyam, all that is about Satyam was Asatyam. Truth versus evil. And you can also see, before getting into the scandal, Ramalinga Raju is the MD and his team of directors. It was the fastest growing IT company in India. Around 9% market share, 40,000 employees, revenues 2.1 billion. First company in India to be listed in 3 international exchanges. Just see, any company before getting into this kind of a trouble will always have a very strong history. It was given awards, a Global Peacock Award, leader in corporate governance. You just see the awards. All those things, boomeranged the moment. Now, what happened? What happened then? Now, what happened was they inflated. You can just see the balance sheet inflation. Cash balance was only 321. They reported 5,361. Again, you come to the revenue. Just see the revenue. Revenue was 2001. It is all in crores. They inflated it by 580. Now, how did it all happen? Again, the statutory auditor and the board of directors together collided with each other, and then that's the window dressing of the balance sheet. Again, in this case also, window dressing came only late. What was that decision taken by? He siphoned off company's money and put that money into a company called as Maita's Infrastructure, owned by his wife and children. This money was channelized to Satyam Computers' money was channelized to the private businesses of his family. So this is called as siphoning off of corporate money from focal firm to shell firm, and showing all the differences in the balance sheet like this, like the one that, and throughout they came to know that there is something going wrong. You can just see the stake of promoter. This is a classical slide for information asymmetry. Say, who knew what is, there are tremors under the ground? Only the promoters knew. Ramalinga Raju knew. His team of board of directors knew. Then what they did? They started selling their shares because they know that there's a trouble. Just see, what is the percentage in 2001? 25% of the shares were with the promoters. They started selling. Why did they sell? Because they already have information. They already had insider information, but the information was not there for the public. And it came down, just you can see, on the day of knowing that this is going to be bankrupt, it came to 5.13%. When the shares were traded highly, they have sold. They made money. But the poor investors who did not know anything what is happening, they just invested in the shares. They did not know. And he made that beautiful confession statement. I remember. And he gave a confession statement. I remember the confession statement. He says, it was like riding a tiger without knowing how to come out of it, without being eaten by it. So he said, hands up. Then finally, this caught the attention of all the stakeholders in the system. And government also intervened. And Tech Mahindra, Mahindra took over Satyam. And it was established as Tech Mahindra. And today, Tech Mahindra is one of the established company in India. Only thing was that the shareholders, out of panic, they sold. Say a shareholder, they've invested 100 rupees. And when it came down to only 10 rupees, they thought, even I will lose 10 rupees. Then they sold. They lost money. But had they waited for some time till this takeover happened, and then shares started going up, probably they would have been benefited. But who knew? Because it's all panic, sudden panic created by one person called as Ramalinga Raju. And still he is at large. He's still out on bail, for your information. Now all his property, with this he has bought property in Hyderabad. No, he has brought property. As I said, this money he took from Satyam and brought property in and around Hyderabad. Now that property worth is really high, it seems. Now enforcement director has attached his property and trying to get money back from him. Good thing is that he's still there in India. He's not gone outside. Okay. Then coming to Volkswagen, as I said, it is something that is connected to me because I also own a Volkswagen. What happened here? Again, I showed you one sentence in agency theory, one slide. In that, it said that product competition and separation of ownership and management both conspire together to create information asymmetry. See, there are two things. One is competition. Second is ownership and management. Both of them come together to create information. Same thing has happened here. Same, exactly the same. What has happened here? Product competition. First, I'll take up the product competition. Say in American market, Toyota was the leader, market leader. They were selling more. And in Germany, Volkswagen is the leader. Now, a mandate was given to the CEO, Markinson, saying that you should somehow outclass, outsmart your top person, that is Toyota. How do you do it? I don't know, but you have to do it. So that was a mandate given to the who has given that mandate and how did it happen? Nobody knows. Now, what did this fellow do? He saw what are the unique selling proposition of Toyota. They are actually very much fuel efficient. It is giving more mileage, but our car is not giving that much of mileage. Now, how to make more mileage? How to make more mileage? They thought about it. Then they decided, yes, there is a chance. What is that? Somehow keep the environmental agency in dark. They put a device inside the engine, a software device inside the engine. And the car went for trial in Environmental Protection Agency, environmental compliance. And whatever the emissions that the car made were within the standards. Once the environmental test is over, then the car came back to the company. Before it is sold, that cheating device was removed. The moment it is being done, it was giving more mileage than Toyota, but it was harming the environment. Means it was, the emissions were more than the mandated or the regulated or the compliance that is required in America. It was, emitting more, it was creating a harm to the environment, but it was giving more mileage. But here, for the clearance, they use that cheating device. Environment people, the agency could not identify. They thought that whatever the emissions is well according to the standard. But the moment it is taken back to the road, that device was taken away and it was giving more mileage, and therefore sales started picking up. See, competition, how competition makes people to resort to whether they're intentionally doing or the competition drives them to do. Then in the road they were caught. There was a whistleblowing complaint that it is emitting more nitrogen and hydrogen kind of emissions, which is harmful more than the compliance that is required. So they were caught. And once they were caught, this fellow is the reason, 11 million cars, they have inserted that cheating device, defeat device. 11 million cars. So they have to be, just see the capital market, what happened the moment it became a big news. From 95 billion, it had come down to 60 billion in a matter of, say, September 16th to September 28th, 12 days. 12 days, 35 billion gone. Public money, shareholders' money. 1 billion, again, I'll repeat, 1 billion is equal to 100 crores and $1 is equal to 80 rupees. Just imagine the money that is lost in a matter of 10 to 12 days for one decision of the top management in order to become number one in US market. And huge amount of fine and other things. This is called as agency cost of managerial discretion. Forget about the trust. See, in order to get the trust back, 150 years, do you know, Volkswagen is a brand. All the Audis and Mercedes that you see, all the German, it's a German giant, automobile giant. It is like, why it is called as Volkswagen? Because it's a common man's car. It's a common man's car. Folks means common people. And it had built a brand for 150 years. 150 years brand crashed in 12 days. Just imagine. For one board of directors, one Lemonous team brought the fame to shame. So it is all been done, been told in all your economics theories. Like economics theory says this is going to happen. Market is going to collapse. You're going to be caught. Don't do this. But what to do? Market competition. The shareholders are not aware of it. And when I was discussing this case amongst in some other audience, and one of the audience, very interesting, dimension to this, he told. I was telling, who gave that instruction to, overtake Toyota. He said, sir, you can see the ownership pattern at that point in time, the shareholding at that point in time. All along, the shareholding used to be Germans and the UK, the US. It is being spread across the West. But during this time, if you look at the ownership pattern, it is essentially Middle East, South Asia. The shareholders belong to this. There is a shift in the shareholding pattern. Maybe that is the reason. And do you mean to say that the Middle East and the South Asians are more Lemonous than the West? It's debatable anyway. Now, these are the arguments that when you try to trace out what has gone wrong, why such a big company, 150 years of reputation, why can is it so silly to make such a mistake? What has driven them? People are investigating now. They're trying to get back on track. They've completely stopped. Now there are no Volkswagen car with diesel engine. Diesel engine they have completely stopped. Now it is only petrol engine, and they're going to go for CNG gas and for this one. The latest one is electric. It's only because they want to somehow come out of that image. In diesel engine they made all this mess. But public memory is short, and if they come out with a product which is qualitative, then there was an aberration, as I said, some exception in the rule for 1 or 2 years. Again, putting back on track is always difficult. Anyway, coming to this fellow, because again, as I was telling, no discussion on these kind of things. Sustainable business sustainability does not. I mean, this fellow is a flamboyant, as I said, one of the largest conglomerates, diverse interests, UB Group. He was into fertilizers, engineering, aviation, Formula One, IPL cricket team, alcoholic beverages. I think he was making real king of good times. You may be knowing, and the entire country was in good spirits, and all the football teams, healthcare, Man with Midas touch. What did he say? I want to sell lifestyle to Indian middle class. See, his statements are so good. I want to give international experience in the domestic flights. I want the average Indian consumers to fly like the way I fly. I will only sit in the selection of the air hostesses and I'll select myself. I want to brain hunt, good pilots from the other rival companies. I mean, airlines. If pilot was given 1 lakh at that point in time, I'll pay 3 lakhs. Headhunting, we call it as. So he was kind of, completely, changed the rules of the game when he entered. And also he said, I am in hospitality business, not in transportation business. I am here to serve, not to make you travel. I want to give you that holistic, wholesome traveling experience to you. So very, very interesting words. He was a true game changer, no doubt about that. No, but unfortunately, those who always, even today, there are people who are, sympathetic towards him. They say that he did everything right, but the only thing was he was entering into the market at the time. ATF, that is the fuel that is required for aircraft, that prices were really high, and in fact, he had requested the Indian government that he would have a kind of a pipeline from the Middle East to India, so that his cost of getting that ATF fuel will be less and he would survive. If that is one part of it, if we look at the theory part of it, capital structure theory, Modigliani and Miller, I'll come to him now. He clearly says, when you go for an unrelated diversification, you are entering into an area for which you don't have any experience. So then please don't use debt. If something goes wrong, the business will boomerang. Go with equity, go with owner's money. He could have done that. See, when you have equity, what is the advantage? The advantage is that you have a cushion. It's a new business, it takes off. It takes some time to settle down, cruise. Isn't it? You taking off and cruising takes some time. So if you take debt, what happens? If something goes wrong, after 6 months, interest becomes payable. Whereas with equity, you need not have to pay dividend unless you make profits. 2 years if you don't pay dividends, 3 years you don't pay dividends, nobody will ask. Shareholders will not ask. At least 2-3 years you would have given that cushion. But you did not do that. You went with the debt. Debt becomes payable. It's a contractual obligation, legal obligation. And if you default on payment of interest, then court will drag you. And people who have given you the money will drag you to the court of law. And exactly similar happened. Exactly it happened. Had it been, funded through equity, shareholders' money, I think he would have ruled even today. That was a bad decision, bad, financial decision that he took, and the timing of, entering into the business at the time when ATF fuel was. And one more thing he did, because it's all sounding like a story. Say, once you get into the domestic flight, you have to serve for 5 years. Then only you can upgrade to international route. Then what he did, he made another blunder. What he did was, at that time, Captain Gopinath, was struggling with his airlines. He merged, in a reverse merger, he took Gopinath's airline. But Gopinath's airline was touted as common man's, low-cost carrier. Whereas Kingfisher, like Vijay Mallya only. Same flamboyancy. See, even when I speak about him, I'm a little positive. Whether I'm right to say that or I don't know, because given the conditions that followed. But I also traveled in a Kingfisher those times, and I have got very good memories of them compared to any other flight. But eventually, I did not know that this is going to happen. But the moment you talk about Kingfisher, it was all style, it was all the flamboyance, it was all the elite and all those things, but at the same rate as in a. But this did not go well with the minds of the people, because this fellow is a stylish elite kind. How did he buy this one, which is a low-cost carrier of Gopinath, just to get into international flights? Because he did not want to wait for 5 years, because Gopinath's carrier was already operating in international flight. So he wanted to make a shortcut into international route, and he did it. And he invested more on international flights, again taking loans. So as I said, in the very beginning, failure goes to their heads, not the success. Failure goes to them. They don't want to accept that I am a failure in domestic flight. No, I will pick it up in international flight. But unfortunately, it's like, good money chasing the bad money. Good money chasing the bad money. Unfortunately, it has happened. And this is the red area that I'm not talking about. Everything started going down. The losses are started going up. And this is the total of this is without interest, and if you add interest, it will run up to say 10,000 crores. I think PNB is again another scandal. I will not go with this because it's all similar. It's all kind of a similar kind of a story where you kind of abuse the system, misuse your dominant position, and try to keep the shareholders in the dark and take decisions according to whims and fancies because of this information asymmetry. And you lose, you make the public to lose their hard-earned money. That is the crux of everything. And I give this example to many of my, in many of my presentations, only because if at all you are a good person need not be called as a bad one, because sometimes if luck goes off and if you are slightly unaware, if you just take a nap when it matters the most, and there is a chance that you will also be caught. Even though you are good, you cannot go around telling the whole world that I am good, but on paper you are bad. It's a classical example. Now just see Rajat Gupta. Who is he? See his educational background, from a very modest, humble family from Calcutta, from the streets of Calcutta. And just see his talent alone rose him to get a mechanical engineering degree from IIT, then an MBA from Harvard Business School. No joke. And see his career line, he was a McKinsey company's and then worldwide MD, he became MD of McKinsey company, and he founded Indian School of Business in Hyderabad. See, there is one business school called as Indian School of Business, which is qualitatively much better than the IIMs. And then he stepped down as McKinsey, started serving as a director in Goldman Sachs, which is now the multimillionaire, who is that? An investment banker, who I'm not getting his name anyway, and he's the director of Procter & Gamble. See his philanthropic activities. Anybody would be proud of having such a CV. He was into education, he was into business, he was into health, he was the advisor to Prime Minister of India, the member of the International Chamber of Commerce. Can anybody with the Gates Foundation, is contributed to Gates Foundation, Global Health Council, a CV that everybody will be jealous of, envious of. But what did he do? See, he happened to be a director of one company called as Goldman Sachs, wherein Warren Buffett, I forgot then, now I remembered. Warren Buffett, as you know, is an investment banker, with the second most richest person in the, and he's into philanthropy also, Warren Buffett. Now this Goldman Sachs was really feeling, this going through bad phase just after the global financial crisis of the 2008-9. So it was really going down. And he was the director of that company, one of the directors of the director team, the board of directors. Then there was a board of directors meeting. I'll just tell you like a story. In the directors meeting, a decision was taken that Warren Buffett is going to infuse 50 billion into the company. Means now Goldman Sachs is going to now prosper, because who is giving that, who is hand-holding now? It is Warren Buffett, a very important investment banker, very well-known investment banker. So it was a great news, positive news. But who knew this news? Only the board of directors. When was it is going to be made public? Tomorrow. Today afternoon, the meeting is going on. And this is a very important information. It will be made public tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, it will be there in the headlines. Warren Buffett infuses 50 billion into such Goldman Sachs. Very positive news. Or else, now, during the meeting, he gets a call from his friend, very close friend, childhood friend, called as Rajaratnam, who is owner of a a company called as Galleon Company. Now he just asked casually, see, it's a casual talk between two friends. And it was a conversation for only 60 seconds. Let me tell you, 60 seconds. He asked, how are you? Where are you? I said, I'm in a meeting. Then just asked, what's news? What's up? Then he said, see, this company now, don't worry, Warren Buffett is putting in so much millions. The decision we are taking now. It was just a 60-second conversation. 60-second conversation. Then it got cut. The conversation got cut. Immediately, what did his friend do? Went and bought the shares of Goldman Sachs today, because the information was leaked by his friend. Not intentionally, just a casual talk. A 60-second talk. Then morning, it was announced. And as you know, markets are efficient market. Another theory, I did not touch upon that. What is an efficient market? The moment you release information to the market absorbs that information and immediately the share prices gets adjusted. If it is a positive information, jumps. Negative means it comes down. So it was a positive information. So today by 4 o'clock, before 4 o'clock, he bought lakhs of shares of Goldman Sachs. Tomorrow morning, information is given to the public. Suddenly it goes up. Immediately he sells by afternoon. In a matter of few hours, his friend made millions of profits. We call it as insider trading. Insider trading means an information which is known only to the insider, and on the basis of that information, he makes the trade and makes profits for himself, which is not there for others, other investors, because you're talking about atomistic competition. Everybody should be in the same level playing. No, some are more equal. But what is this fellow's fault? Is there a fault? Then SEC, Security Exchange Commission in India, in US, started investigating. Why is that a huge transaction? There's a huge transaction towards the end of this day, and in the next morning, by noon, it is being sold. Then they came to know Rajaratnam. All the call history were taken, and one of the call history went to Rajat Gupta. Then investigation was done, and it was proved that anyway, Rajaratnam's was a serious offense, but being a good man, having done such a great work right through his career, had to be imprisoned for 2 years, plus 1 year home imprisonment, and a fine of $5 million for just being careless for 1 second in his life. Just see this. So there are certain issues, whether you are consciously done. You may say, no, it was just a casual talk, but you're not supposed to be, because you're at the helm of affairs. You're a director. Now I'm just talking about all of you. In some point in time, you may have some positions. Some positions have certain responsibilities. You cannot be casual about it. Even though you are a good person, you may end up doing wrong things. Is what I wanted to say. Now, okay, as I'll just run through now. Now, these are some of the examples that I've given as to how these companies have violated all these theories, and they've been able to put a lot of stress on public money, and people have lost their money. So now that's a pathetic point of the entire story. Apart from connecting commerce and management to economics, we can also see that public at large are the losers in this process. Now, how to tighten the noose? I mean, who has to take the initiative? Now, when you talk about in India, India is a country which is over-regulated and under-enforced. People say, very cynically, people say. Now, are there any efforts in the recent past in order to see that these kinds of corporate frauds are arrested and the public money is saved? Do we have a silver lining in the cloud? Do we see a light at the end of the tunnel? Say, I'm just using literature here. Are we seeing light at the end of the tunnel? Let us see. Now I'll just run through. I'll not go into the details. Say, corporate scandals and frauds in India are as old as the hills, and they were, investigated by Indian Penal Code (IPC), which is a contributory from our British rule. And as you know, there are too many sections and subsections, and by the time you can find out, as you know, in India, a terrorist who kind of gets into simply widely. I'm just referring to the Taj Hotel in public glare, and he's been caught in public glare in front of the camera. Will also get 4 to 5 years of time to plead his innocence, and finally the mercy petition goes to president, and finally it takes 5 years to hang him. See, such is the kind of human right activists have their own argument, but it is always the delay that in justice that we see in India, particularly. And most of it is the reason being IPC. Now, what happened was from 2008 and 9 onwards, there were two important legislatory changes that happened. One is definition of fraud under section 448 of the Companies Act 2013. The new act was enacted in 2013, where all the frauds. So it so happened in all these cases, there were too many agencies, legal agencies, investigating the same issue. Nobody knew whose jurisdiction will end where, who has to take it over forward, because it's all, say ED is there, CBI is there. Like this, there are many investigating agencies. The police are there. But it was very difficult to identify, put it under one. All the corporate fraud should be under one. It should be trialed under one act. So, Companies Act 447. And then creation of serious fraud investigation under Department of Company Affairs, section 112 of the Act, to investigate these frauds. SFIO. It happened after 2008-9 and 2013. Then, what does it say? It says that section 447 should not be trial under IPC. Let me go away from IPC and have a separate section. Purely on all the cheating and forgery and criminal breach of trust will be trialed under this act, Companies Act. And then any fraud involving more than 10 crores is an offense punishable by an imprisonment not less than 6 months, can go up to 10 years. The $1 million question is this sufficient? Then the fine that can be imposed are 3 times the fraud amount. 3 times the fraud amount. Say, for example, if Nirav Modi's case is around 12,000 crores, fine can be imposed up to 36,000 crores. Now, when you have so much of fine, will it deter people in future when they go on committing the frauds? Will they act as a kind of a barrier to them, or is it sufficient? Is something that we need to now discuss forward now. And the imprisonment shall not be less than 3 years. If the fraud in question involves public, say all the cases that I'm talking about is in public interest only. Then for grant of bail also there are twin condition. You cannot get the bail simply like that. The 2 conditions should be fulfilled. One is the public prosecutor has to be given an opportunity to oppose his release, and the court should be convinced that while on bail he will not commit any such offense. Now this is a serious one. This is really good. So the corporate frauds came under the list of scheduled offenses under Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Say previously, there's a definition called as, proceeds of crime. Say proceeds of crime is always the money that you get from, say, human trafficking or, drug sales, these kinds of serious offenses, which violates the social fabric of any country. Now, corporate frauds were also listed there, because the moment it is a PMLA offense, schedule offense, you can be trialed and you can attach the property immediately. Then auditors in all the cases auditor's role has come under a scanner, because these auditors have collided with these people. And then a separate section came into act saying that if an auditor is also proved to be a part of the entire fraud, whatever the fine or the imprisonment that is given to the promoters, the same thing will also be given to auditors. Auditor is as good as a promoter, because he did not then as recent as 2020, there was one more provision under SEBI saying that on knowing that there is, on smelling that there is a possibility of a scam, if there is a whistleblower complaint, if there is any information to the SEBI that this company is doing something wrong, immediately SEBI can initiate forensic audit, which is called as a Brahmastra. Now, what does it mean? Forensic means any audit report that has been given by a foreign auditor will be taken as enough evidence in the court of law. No need to have any documents. His report itself carries that. But a forensic audit is a new profession, and it integrates accounting, auditing, investigating, and criminology. So you should also see very few people will know, either you audit or you audit only. But accounting, auditing, investigating, criminal psychology, all put together. This is, and then he'll be called as a forensic audit. It also helps in locating and identifying potential. And this is again aftermath of Mallya and Nirav Modi. Because earlier, if a person elopes from the country, till the time he is pulled back to the country, his assets, either in the country or outside, cannot be attached. But they made a separate act. Even if they go out, their property can be attached. As I said, law comes as a correction. Now, these people have their own ideas, but law should not leave them. They have to brought back to the books. Now, we have seen the days not too far that these people will be deported back to India, and they will face the trial. Then he'll be, this is again, how do you declare a fugitive economic offender? Anyway, there is a Competition Act. I'm just running through now. I'm pressing the accelerator as I draw closer to the time. I just want to tell you, again, a Competition Act is an act which is an upgradation of the earlier Monopolistic and Restrictive Trade Practices Act, MRTP. In MRTP, it favors competition and it prevents adverse effect on competition. Now, I'll give, there are three important sections here. One is prevention of anti-competitive agreements, because the big people should not make a cartel and restrict the price. They should not. Say, for example, Jio. What is the case of Jio? Do you think that they have violated the Competition Act? In fact, when that particular case was taken up by Competition Commission, do you know what is the judgment that they gave? What is adverse effect of competition and what is abuse of dominant position? Say, whether Jio restricted the entry of new people into the market through their hyper marketing, yes, answer is yes. Did they kind of made the existing players to quit the market by being very hostile on them, really pushing them away? Yes. But did they abuse the dominant position? The answer was no. They were giving new technology. They were giving services, internet services at a lower price. They were making their signals and all the things available all over. So at that point in time, they have not abused their dominant position. Even though they drove the competitors away, even though they restricted the new entrants into the market, but whatever the offerings that they have given, they are enhancing value to the customers. Therefore, at this point in time, they are not abusing their dominant position. Therefore, Competition Act did not come into play. They said whatever that they're doing is okay. They also said in case in future, if they try to up their increase their price and try to establish a monopoly position, then come back to me. Then file a fresh application. But as of now, they are giving service. Customers are okay with whatever the service is there. As long as that is happening, it's not an abuse of dominant position. So having dominant position is not a problem. Having establishing a dominant position is not a problem under the new law. Under MRTP Act, it was a offense. Having dominant position itself was an offense. But in the new Competition Act, it is not an offense. What is an offense? If you abuse that position. If you abuse that position, having a dominant position and still trying to give good services to the competitors or the customers, it's good. No need, but you should not abuse it. So there are a few, since I'm running out of time, I'm just trying to give you the spirit. But this is one landmark act that I would like to spend at least 5 to 6, 7 minutes in it before I wind up. It's a beautiful act. It's a code. It's a summary of different statutes. The very expression you can just see. Market is not a very accommodating machine. See, market is cutthroat always. Market will not say high returns just because you are there. I'll say this to say Malia. Malia coming to airlines does not mean that it will provide high return just because Malia is there. No. Market has got its own dynamics. Sometimes you may have the best of the ideas, business ideas, and your best of the intentions, but market may not. Market need not necessarily appreciate, because market wants a competitive product or a service at a competitive price. It will not look at who is selling it. Just because you are there, market will not give you. So therefore, this act came into existence in 2016. There are 3 sections, 7, 9, and 10, wherein whenever any business goes into some sort of a strain, it can approach the National Company Law Tribunal, NCLT, which is established, saying that I cannot run this show, you just give me permission to exit. Because I started with a good intention of doing a good business, no doubt about that. But unfortunately, market is not responding. So instead of putting bad money, good money to chase the bad money, I will say hands up now itself. Who can initiate this? Who can initiate the closure of the company? There are 3 people who can initiate. One is the operational creditor. Operational creditor means a person who has supplied materials and supplies and other things to the company. If he did not get his money in due course of time, immediately he can knock the doors of NCLT. Then a financial creditor, a banker has given loan to the business, and in 90 days, that is the period. After that, it becomes NPA, right? So once he defaults, the company defaults, immediately he can go to knock the doors of NCLT. And also the business himself, the owner himself may say, hands up, I'm unable to take it forward. Please take me over. Then what does this do? Say the court says he will appoint an insolvency professional to get into to understand the business proposal, and there are 2 objectives. One is remedies in case of failing firms. Rescue a viable firm. There are two remedies. Rescue a viable firm and liquidate an unviable firm. There are 2 things. One is you kind of do a resolution. You'll put it up in the public that this company is now not willing to carry forward. Are there any takers? Ocean Steel was taken over by Tata Steel, no? If there are any companies coming forward to give life, any reorganization that can be made, because it's a good business idea, But unfortunately, this fellow is not able to carry it forward. So let us do a reorganization. We call it as resolution, or else the second object. If it is a failing firm, no way that you can give life to it, liquidate it. So it is going to now see the frauds, all the frauds that we have seen, they're not been able to accept that they are failures. If they are accepting that they are failures, and at the very first stage only they say exit or reorganize, the losses would have been minimized. See, there is nothing wrong in becoming bankrupt. There's nothing wrong in saying that I'm a failing firm. It's not a taboo anymore. You are you are lending dignity to failing firms. See, in our days, if a person is pauper, people used to say pauper, he's become pauper. He used to put a towel on his face and his business fair. It is not that. See, becoming bankrupt is not a crime. See, you had all that good intentions, but unfortunately, market did not appreciate that. So therefore, what you're doing, you're saying goodbye. At least the losses will be minimized now. At least there is a potential that some other good people, stronger people will pick up your business. When Tata Steel took over Bush and Steel, it's really good for all the customer investors of Bush and Steel because they immediately become the shareholders of Tata. So therefore, there is a chance to resolve a failing firm if it is viable, or else if it is not viable, think that it is not viable. There is no way that you can liquidate it. So that there is a decency and dignity to fail. There is a saying, success has many fathers, and failure is an orphan. Failure is an orphan. But those failing firms, orphan firms, IBC is there now. Don't feel orphan. I am there. It's a statute, it's a code that has been established only to help these failing firms and to be taken over by stronger firms or to liquidate so that the losses are minimized and add social. It's not a stigma anymore. You are giving a social dignity to the failure. Instead of going further ahead, telling all the lies and becoming a lemon and then put good money to chase bad money and finally say hands up and all the shareholders huge losses. It is better at this point in time, press the button, put the brakes, reorganize, so that all the equitable distribution of the value will be done for all the stakeholders. So in that sense, this is a landmark legislation. It will take some time. There are so many modifications and amendments that are going through. And if at all you are interested, this is really good. You can just go into their websites and see how many firms have been revived by IBC, so that NPA has come down because of this. General economy has got a boost because of this. And then today, if we are talking about a COVID time and all that, and we have come out and as a country more robust now, recover faster than any other emerging economies in the world. It's all because of certain sustained efforts which our policymakers over a period of time. I'm not giving the credit to one dispensation or the previous dispensation. No, all along then, whoever been the political leaders and the governments have been able to come out with something substantial and see that all these things does not happen in society, because it's a kind of a reflection of what the society is all about now. At this point in time, there are takeaways. I would like to say as a teacher, because you're all my colleague, fellow teachers, all these moral hazard, dysfunctional behavior can be applied to our profession. Very simple. Dysfunctional behavior, you can always show the results of the students, or the API points and the number of articles that you have published, the number of books that you have written. But what is the original? Did you create value inside the classrooms to the student? Did you change their attitude towards life? Did you make them good citizens of this nation? These are the pertaining, sometimes as we deviate, it's not that I would say we have a lemonous attitude but as teachers, We are in a noblest of the professions, and try to put all this into, we are agents. We've been appointed by the government. We've been appointed by the government and who are our stakeholders? Students are our stakeholders. And research invariably happens in the classrooms. When you teach, you try to understand the different nitty-gritties and the questions that students ask. The most important source of knowledge for a teacher are the students, I would say. Their questions, their inquisitiveness. That will make us to research. And your research should be in such a way that sometimes research is not so elaborative and investigative to add value to the society. At least you add value to your own students in the classroom. Bring that research output into the classroom onto your teaching. These are all the takeaways that I have as moral hazard. I talk about bullying. I also tell my students, see, when I teach all these things, it's a part of our advanced corporate finance. I teach that specialization course in Bahadur in our department, and I tell them, see, you're all in pooling equilibrium. All of you are from MBA students from University of Mysore, 100 years, 105 years old reputation. Okay, all of you are in the pooling equilibrium. All of you are say 7.5 CGPA, 6.5 CGPA. All CGPAs are in excess of first class MBS. But how should you distinguish? How do you give credible signals to your prospective employers? So we are all teachers, and why a few teachers? If I ask you, who are the teachers that you remember? You'll pick out a few, no? Because they gave credible signals. All other teachers are pulled in one group. Am I right? If I ask you since first standard till now, if I ask you individually, one or two teachers' name that you remember the most, you'll take only one or two, and mostly primary school teachers. Mostly primary school, you need not necessarily degree and post-graduation teachers. You remember the most, because there's a saying, see, primary teachers love their subject and the students, love their subject and the students, whereas high school teachers love their subjects, whereas college and university teachers love themselves. So when I look at this contract theory per se, see, dysfunctional behavior, capturing the contract, being at the very noblest profession, there are certain takeaways to us also as teachers. I just wanted to tell you before, and this is my address, this is my email ID and my phone number. I would like you people to give me whatever feedback that, positive, negative, constructive, destructive, and I'll take it with a very, very positive spirit. And now I'll open this discussion. Stop this presentation, and yes, here I am. So you should now, indulge in your kind, and I'm now keenly. This is your time now, and my value addition time. 1 o'clock. Yes.